Hi there, Alba. Welcome to your next essay correction. So this technology essay can confuse a lot of students. The main core of the question, should humans adapt their behaviour to technology, or should we only design technology that suits our existing behaviours? Does technology, or has technology, made us intellectually weaker or stronger? So, my first comment would be that your introduction looks a little bit long, but let's read through it and see if that's true. Yeah, I think you've just overcomplicated the first sentence. So we really need to include the core of the discussion, which is, should humans adapt to technology, or should technology adapt to us? You've focused in on the second part of the question, which should still be mentioned in your introduction, but the primary section of the question should be the one that you cover. So we should say whether whether human behaviour, or whether humans should adapt their behaviour to advancements to technology, or whether technology should only be designed to suit existing behaviours, is a contentious issue. Personally, I'm a strong advocate See, this is unclear as well. I get that you are a strong advocate and you have very strong feelings on science and technology. I have picked that up in your essays before. But you need to advocate one of these, or a mixture of the two, but that needs to be clear. So I'm going to guess that you think technology should be allowed to advance as it advances, and that humans should learn how to use it, because they can. So I would say, personally, I strongly advocate that technology should advance, or technology should be permitted to advance freely, and that humans should adapt their behaviour in order to use it. It is this process of learning which makes us intellectually stronger, or which strengthens our intellect. And then we've covered all of the question in our introduction, as well as highlighted our main ideas. So, firstly, we've got barriers, examples, study, and results. Cool. So I would say here, firstly, every period in history has experienced certain barriers that must be overcome. I would just leave it there. So one comment as well. After a semicolon, we don't use conjunctive words. A semicolon separates two distinct sentences that are related to one another. But if we were to use so technology, then this would have to be a comma. When we use a comma, the complete sentence must then have a conjunction before it, in some cases. But after a semicolon, that is never the case. We don't ever use conjunctive words after a semicolon. But this is unnecessary, because this sentence only needs to introduce the idea. Your resultantly statement here should incorporate this. So firstly, each period in history has been presented with certain barriers that must be overcome. More specifically, pollution, fossil fuels and climate change represent, I would say, instead of just saying fossil fuels, I would say energy sources. Because fossil fuels are just the current energy source, the current dominant energy source. But what we want to talk about is the problem that relates to, which is the sourcing of energy, generating energy. So more specifically, pollution, energy generation, and climate change represent the major challenges of the modern age. I would just say, of the modern age, and technological innovations in these fields are a matter of vital importance. This is borne out by a recent UK government survey which showed that over the last decade, okay, so this is unclear, too long. I would say this is borne out by a recent UK government survey which demonstrated that fossil fuel reserves will be exhausted in around 30 years. And consequently, research into alternative sources of energy has increased by 120%. As a result, we could say, or we could say, we could remove this and just say, it is clear that modern technology should be utilized to solve these problems. And if both research institutes and companies invest in green energy, innovations in this field will more rapidly develop. Secondly, the tremendous progress of the digital era enables scientists to achieve discoveries, I would say. Enables scientists to achieve discoveries that were previously inaccessible. A fundamental reason for this is that a fundamental reason for this is that modern electronic technology, such as computers, automatic analyzers, and robotics, allow the collection and processing of data at record speed and accuracy. For example, since the creation of the CERN Institute in 1960, a total of 7 new subatomic particles have been discovered and fully categorized. Therefore, by incorporating technology, physics can demonstrate theses. This should be an E. The plural of thesis is theses. Physics can demonstrate theses that were only theoretical when first stated. To conclude, I firmly believe that even though technology carries potential hazards, there are still a number of social and scientific benefits to be gained with its correct use, and therefore it should be permitted to develop freely, and humans should strengthen their intellect in order to use it properly. Remember to cover the question. So, this one. The bar graph shows the projected. It doesn't show the projected. I wouldn't say that. I would say the bar graph shows the projected number of tourists to visit 4 European cities in 2018. from 3 different countries, namely Mexico, Canada, and the USA. The number of people travelling from Mexico to Istanbul, Paris, and London is expected to be practically identical at around 20,000 each, whereas the proportion of visitors from Madrid and the USA will be triple that number. So let's have a quick look. Istanbul, green. Mexican, Istanbul, Paris, and London. Okay. This one is a little bit higher. I think we should comment on that. And I think if Istanbul is the subject of this paragraph, we should introduce it here. We should lead. So we should say, for visitor... Oh wait, no, because we're not saying that, are we? We're talking about... So we've somewhat conflated our ideas in this paragraph. We need to group our ideas together a little better. So I would say that this one is... Your paraphrased sentence needs to talk more about the number of tourists that are expected to visit 4 different cities from 3 different countries in 2018. Then we could make a comment on the general trends of the graph. So overall, it is clear that the majority of tourists in this year to those 4 cities will be from the USA, and the least number of tourists will be from Mexico, or is expected to be from Mexico. Then we could go into talking about each country's preference. So the majority of people... Actually, it's not the majority, is it? We could say that Paris, the highest number of visitors to Paris will be from the USA at 100,000 visitors. The most number of visitors to Canada... the most number of visitors to Istanbul will be from Canada at around 70,000 visitors, and the most number of visitors to Madrid will also be from the USA, so the most number of visitors to Madrid will be from the USA at 70,000 visitors, closely followed by people from Mexico at 65,000 visitors. And then we could talk about the countries or the cities that will receive the least number of visitors. Or we could talk about the fact that Mexicans display a strong preference for Madrid, but not for the others. Obviously supporting it with data as well. Well done for sticking to is predicted and is expected, rather than saying it will be. Projections in the future must always be referred to as projections. They are expected, they are projected, they are predicted. All good. Actually, this is quite a good sentence, but we could say the majority of tourists in 2018 to these 4 cities will be from the USA, followed by Canada, and finally Mexico, with Paris, Istanbul, and Madrid being the preferred cities for each respective nationality. Good. Yeah, my biggest as well, stick to numbers or letters. Don't mix up your statements of data with both. So 70, comma, 000, or the word 70, a hyphen, and 1000. I actually prefer writing it out in words, but most people don't. But don't do both. One other point of pedantry as well that I'm not sure. I comment on this a lot, but it may not be correct. But if you look at this graph, country of origin means the country from which they flew, the country from which they came, but it does not talk about their nationality. So people travelling from Mexico could be from anywhere in the world. People travelling from Canada could be from anywhere in the world. So when we talk about nationality and we say Canadians, we infer that we know where these people are originally from in terms of birth. And while that is a very small point of pedantry, I would try talking about people travelling from Canada, tourists from the USA, etc., etc., just to make it a little more accurate. But I think I'll leave that there. I've commented on that one in a bit of a haphazard manner. So I look forward to your next work. All the best, Alba. High standard, as usual. I'll speak to you very soon.